Have you ever noticed that the very person who pulls away from you is also the one secretly hoping you'll somehow still understand them? Avoidants may go quiet, but silence doesn't mean they don't want anything from you. In fact, during no contact, they secretly crave certain things. And if you can understand these, you'll stop misreading their distance as disinterest and start seeing what's really going on underneath. When someone with avoidant tendencies pulls away, it's easy to assume they don't care or that they've lost interest. But often, what's happening underneath is far more nuanced. Avoidants tend to carry a deep fear of being engulfed or losing themselves in a relationship. Because of this, they instinctively create distance when things feel too intense. During no contact, what they secretly want is reassurance, but not the kind that comes in the form of constant texts, demands, or emotional pleas. They're not looking for you to chase them. In fact, that usually makes them retreat even further. What they're really craving is a subtle, quiet kind of reassurance, the knowledge that you won't disappear entirely just because they needed space. Think about it this way. Imagine someone who is afraid of drowning. When they feel the water rise, they instinctively push back toward the shore. If you swim after them and grab hold, they'll panic. But if you allow them to move back, and they see that you're still there on the horizon, calm and steady, they begin to realize they're safe. Reassurance to an avoidant looks less like a flood of affection and more like stability, the certainty that the bond isn't broken simply because they stepped away for a moment. This is why so many people misinterpret no contact. They think silence is supposed to be a game of punishment or indifference. But avoidants don't respond well to ultimatums, to messages that say, if you don't come back now, I'm gone forever. That only deepens their fear that closeness equals control. What they secretly want is the opposite, to know that you can hold space for them without panicking or lashing out. When you demonstrate emotional steadiness, you're telling them, without words, you're free to move at your pace. I won't punish you for being who you are. It's important to notice that reassurance in this context doesn't mean you sacrificing your self-worth or waiting endlessly at the door. It's not about proving you'll tolerate bad treatment. It's about showing that your love isn't fragile, that you're not going to crumble because they needed a breather. When an avoidant feels this, it begins to soothe their inner fear that intimacy always leads to suffocation or chaos. The paradox is that the very act of not chasing them, combined with your quiet steadiness, becomes the reassurance they crave most. So, during no contact, when you resist the urge to over-communicate or demand answers, you're giving them something they deeply want, a sense that they can retreat and still be held in your emotional world. It tells them you matter even in your silence. And for someone whose nervous system equates closeness with danger, that kind of reassurance is the safest and most healing message they can receive. For someone with avoidant tendencies, independence isn't just a preference, it's a core part of how they feel safe in the world. When they step back during no contact, what they secretly hope is that their autonomy will be respected. This doesn't mean they don't value connection. It means that closeness can feel overwhelming if it seems to threaten their sense of self. They often grew up in environments where closeness was unpredictable or where their needs weren't fully acknowledged, so as adults, they protect their freedom fiercely. To them, having room to breathe is not a rejection of you, but a way of maintaining stability within themselves. When someone ignores this need and tries to pull them back in, they often react with more distance. It's not because they dislike the other person, but because pressure triggers their survival instinct. They want to know that being in a relationship doesn't mean giving up who they are or losing their right to space. Respecting their independence during no contact communicates a powerful message. You can care about them without trying to control them. That simple act allows them to feel safe enough to eventually come closer. It's easy to confuse respect for independence with neglect or indifference. Many people fear that if they don't chase, they'll be forgotten. But with avoidance, the opposite is often true. The more you push, the more they associate the relationship with suffocation. The more you allow them space, the more they begin to feel they can come back without sacrificing their autonomy. By showing that you're comfortable giving them room, you're proving that the relationship can exist without pressure, and that's what makes it sustainable in their eyes. Think of it like a bird that lands on your hand. If you grip it too tightly, it will struggle to escape. If you leave your palm open, it's far more likely to stay. Avoidants are drawn to people who can hold them lightly, not out of disinterest, but out of trust that the bond doesn't require constant control. Independence, in this sense, becomes the foundation of intimacy because it tells them they can be fully themselves within the relationship. During no contact, this respect shows up in your actions and energy. It's in the way you don't bombard them with questions, the way you don't demand explanations, the way you continue to live your life fully. That doesn't mean shutting them out emotionally. It means trusting that connection doesn't have to be forced to be real. Ironically, the more they sense you'll honor their space, the more appealing it becomes to share that space with you again. By giving them the gift of independence, you create the conditions for true closeness, the kind that isn't rooted in control but in mutual freedom. When an avoidant pulls away, it isn't usually because they don't care. More often, it's because their nervous system has associated closeness with risk. For them, intimacy can feel like walking into a room where they're not sure if the floor will hold. That's why, during no contact, one of the things they secretly want is emotional safety. They need to know that when they eventually return, they won't be walking into a storm of accusations, guilt trips, or punishment. If they sense that reaching out will trigger conflict, their instinct is to retreat even further. But if they feel the atmosphere is calm and accepting, they become far more open to reconnecting. Emotional safety is the quiet promise that someone can bring their vulnerability without fear of it being used against them. It's the opposite of walking on eggshells. Avoidants long for this. Even if they don't articulate it, they may act self-sufficient, but underneath they carry the same desire for acceptance that everyone else does. The difference is that they're more guarded about it. They've often learned that being too open leads to criticism, pressure, or disappointment. So, they protect themselves by staying distant. What they secretly want is to feel that closeness doesn't have to equal danger, that they can let their guard down and still be met with understanding. The challenge is that when someone pulls away, it can stir deep feelings of rejection in you. It's tempting to lash out, to demand answers, to ask, "Why are you doing this to me?" But those reactions, while human, confirm the avoidance fear that intimacy comes at the cost of peace. The more you show that you can manage your emotions without attacking them, the more you signal safety. Emotional steadiness becomes the bridge they're looking for, even if they never admit it outright. Think of it like creating a safe harbor. A boat doesn't return to a dock in the middle of a storm, no matter how much it needs rest. But when the waters are calm and the dock is steady, the boat naturally drifts back. Avoidants want to know that your emotional world is that calm harbor. They want to feel that reconnecting won't mean stepping into chaos. It's not about pretending everything is fine or ignoring your own needs. It's about showing that you can express yourself without making them the villain. That kind of safety is magnetic to someone who fears being trapped in emotional turbulence. During no contact, this safety is communicated through your restraint, your balance, and your focus on building your own peace. It shows up in the way you don't dramatize their absence, the way you handle your hurt with self-respect, and the way you trust that connection can return without forcing it. Over time, that emotional steadiness reassures them that intimacy with you won't cost them their sense of calm. And that reassurance makes the idea of coming back not only possible, but deeply appealing. For many avoidants, one of their deepest fears is being relied upon so heavily that they lose their sense of freedom. They often equate intimacy with responsibility that feels overwhelming or even suffocating. This is why, during no contact, what they secretly want is to see proof that you are self-sufficient. They want to know that your happiness isn't entirely dependent on their presence. It might sound counterintuitive, but the more you demonstrate strength and independence, the more attractive and safe you become in their eyes. When you show that you can thrive without them, it removes the pressure they subconsciously fear. They don't want to feel like if they come back, they'll immediately have to carry the weight of your entire emotional world. What pulls them closer is the realization that you're grounded, capable, and fulfilled on your own. That doesn't mean being cold or pretending you don't care. It means living a full life, pursuing your passions, maintaining your friendships, and nurturing your sense of self. This shows them that being in a relationship with you won't cost them their independence, because you're not asking them to complete you. It's important to understand that avoidants are not repelled by closeness itself. They're repelled by the feeling of being trapped in someone else's dependency. When they see you standing strong, it flips the script in their minds. Instead of thinking, if I go back, I'll drown in their neediness, they start thinking, if I go back, I'll be with someone who chooses me, not someone who needs me to survive. That shift changes everything. Suddenly, closeness feels less like a burden and more like a choice, and choice is what avoidants value most. During no contact, your self-sufficiency becomes a silent message. It tells them, I care about you, but I'm not defined by you. They may not admit it, but this is incredibly attractive to them. It reassures them that they can reconnect without losing themselves. And paradoxically, it's your independence that makes the relationship feel safer and more sustainable. When you're thriving, you create an environment where they can step back into the connection without feeling like they're signing up for a role they never wanted, the role of your rescuer. Think about the energy it gives off. When you're fulfilled, you radiate confidence, joy, and calmness. That kind of energy draws people in naturally. It doesn't scream, I need you. It whispers, I'm good, and I'd love to share that goodness with you. For an avoidant, that difference is everything. It's what makes them feel that being with you won't mean sacrificing their identity. Instead, it feels like an opportunity to share life with someone who's already whole. That sense of balance is what quietly invites them back, because it's proof that love with you can be freedom, not confinement. What avoidants secretly want during no contact is not for you to slam the door shut, nor for you to throw it wide open with endless pursuit. What they long for is something in between. A gentle invitation, a sense that the door is slightly ajar, waiting for them if and when they're ready. This delicate balance is often misunderstood. Many people assume they must either cut the avoidant off entirely to teach them a lesson or keep pushing to prove their love. But neither extreme works. Avoidants crave the feeling that there is a path back, one that doesn't pressure them yet doesn't reject them either. To an avoidant, pressure feels like a demand. It awakens the fear that being in a relationship means losing all control over their choices. On the other hand, total rejection only reinforces their belief that closeness is unsafe. What they secretly want is to feel that if they take the risk of reaching out again, they won't be met with anger, guilt, or cold indifference. They want to know the connection hasn't been destroyed by their retreat and that there's still a soft place to land if they come back. This doesn't mean you should wait endlessly, nor does it mean lowering your standards. It's about holding a posture that communicates openness without neediness. You can do this by living fully, maintaining your dignity, and showing through your energy that while your life is rich and complete on its own, there is still room for them if they choose to step in. That balance is incredibly powerful. It lets them know the relationship doesn't have to be a tug of war, but rather a safe space where their choice matters. Think of it like leaving a light on in the window. You're not standing outside calling their name into the night, but you're also not locking the house and walking away forever. The light says, you're welcome here, but I'm not chasing you. The choice is yours. That subtle invitation is exactly what soothes an avoidant's fear of being controlled. It allows them to return at their own pace without feeling cornered. And ironically, it's often that freedom of choice that makes them more eager to step through the door. During no contact, your behavior communicates this invitation more than any words could. The fact that you don't lash out, that you don't bombard them with messages, that you don't punish them for leaving. All of that signals the connection is intact if you want it. At the same time, the way you continue growing, building your own life, and radiating strength communicates, but I'll be okay even if you don't. This duality, open yet self-sufficient, is what makes the invitation irresistible. It's not desperate, it's not demanding, it's simply a quiet welcome. And for someone who fears entrapment more than anything, that kind of gentle openness is the exact thing that makes returning feel safe. When it comes to avoidance, silence is never empty. Their distance isn't proof that they don't care. It's a reflection of their fears, their wiring, and their deep desire for safety. What they secretly want during no contact isn't games, pressure, or ultimatums. It's reassurance without control, respect for their independence, the promise of emotional safety, the quiet proof that you are thriving on your own, and the gentle sense that the door is still open if they choose to walk through it. Understanding this doesn't mean losing yourself or waiting endlessly. It means recognizing that love isn't about forcing someone into closeness. It's about creating conditions where closeness feels safe enough to choose. And when you master that balance of strength and openness, you don't just become someone they can return to, you become someone they want to return to. Thank you for giving me your time and attention today. I hope this has given you a new perspective, not just on avoidance, but on what it truly means to build love without fear. Take these insights, carry them with you, and remember, real connection isn't about pressure, it's about invitation. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.